Let's take 5.
You'll always be my number 1.
The overall look from season to season changes with the story. But the look this year was really dictated by, she's going out on tour, she's extremely low on the bill at this point, but she's going out on tour, so she's experiencing sort of standing behind a star and seeing what it's like to be a star. And so that took her to Miami, that took her to Las Vegas. And we always wanted Maisel to have this sort of high production value, which most comedies don't have. In the great comedies like Arthur, Tootsie, you can have like a great production value and still, and it can enhance a certain comedy. We wanted it to feel modern to today's viewer because those characters people back in 1958 and 59 didn't know that they were vintage. They thought they were the most modern things out there. So we didn't want this to look like it was some sort of period piece. And then from there, we started talking about color. We wanted color to pop in this. We always design our sets to be basically 360 almost all the time. Even when we tell our production designer, Bill Groom, this isn't going to be 360, he often does it anyway because he knows we can get there on the floor and go, hey, you know, I actually do want to do it. I actually do want the camera to like move around and see the whole floor. And our cutting pattern and our dialogue they're very intertwined because, you know, Amy is a dancer and has sort of a dancer's rhythm, and I'm a musician and have sort of a musician's rhythm.
Foot, box, hands.
We wanted to see Midge in this world of radio that does not exist anymore and hasn't existed for many, many decades. That sequence is 34 scenes. Most hour-long shows have, say, 34 scenes total, or something like, you know, 40 or 50 scenes. This was 34 scenes, and it was for only 8 minutes of programming. It was something like 50 shots, and it's sort of it's an anomaly for what we did, but I wanted to get that frenetic feeling of you're racing around town with Susie and Midge.
Later, guys.
See you at 12:30. And don't be late.
Studio B. Midge Maisel, here for her 9 o'clock.
Nice and punctual. Here's the script.
I had to plan out these shots as much as possible so that I wasn't duplicating. I wanted every shot to feel different because I wanted the audience to feel like they're being propelled in the studio and propelled down the hallway. And I just wanted that sense of it's all kind of a blur, and it all takes place over one day. I always knew that there was going to be music like that. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I told my editor it should be thumping, like I'm hearing a thumping bass line. I'm hearing a jazz, like this should always kind of have the rhythm of jazz. And
Breath, heel, tuna fish, elbow, hat, cab, fart, hand.
I wanted everything, even the roar of the car, you know, coming away from the curb.
I'll get the door.
These things were easy to carry.
I wanted that to sort of have I wanted that to be sort of part of the music, so that the sound of the city was also sort of augmenting the actual music.
You are not selling tampons on the street.
I'll do what I gotta do.
Downtown driver, I'm starving. Sorry, food, later.
Make sure that our cutting patterns match what is happening in the story so that you never notice one of our cuts. So it really depends, but the difference between comedy and drama, I'd say, is comedy's always better in a master if you can get away with it. We would like to just go into most scenes and just do it all in basically one shot.
Wait!
When we met Abe, he was this very kind of pompous, know-it-all professor at Columbia University, the kind of professor who has absolutely no rapport with his students. We wanted to do a sequence where he has where he gets kind of nostalgic about the experience. And the comedy of it was his nostalgia leads him to forget that he drove everybody crazy, and actually everybody at Columbia hates him.
Well, these are great boys, Professor. They all deserve their place here. All but 6. And I just want you to know.
We've always played Abe as a guy who can't help himself, that even when he's kind of feeling nostalgic and warm and even missing Columbia, he still can't help but like point out that this guy shouldn't be here, and I know a bunch of you and you guys shouldn't be here.
Teaching is an act of generosity.
He's also a guy who can, we had him walk into that classroom, which we actually shot at Columbia University, which is great because it's such an impressive classroom, and there aren't that many of them. But he's a guy that walks into that classroom and just has no idea the bad effect he's had on all these kids, how they're actually afraid of him, ready to rebel against him. And then I used the Sound of Music just as juxtaposition of the indifference of the class and the strange unilateral warmth that Abe was feeling in that room.
This isn't where I belong. It's where you belong. Besides him, and him. I'll leave you to it, Professor. I'll leave you to it.
Goodbye, Professor Weissman.
Goodbye, Professor Weissman.
Goodbye, Professor Weissman. Take care of yourself, sir.
Goodbye, boys. Happy lives.
I'll wait for you, Mrs. Maisel.
Thank you, Jerry. Say nighty-night and...
When Midge lost that apartment in season 1, it was a huge blow. It was the emblem of the failure of her marriage, and this was the apartment of her dreams. It was 2 floors down from her parents. It was right in her neighborhood. It was her happy time was spent in this apartment, and when it looked like she had some money coming in over the next couple of years because of the Shy Baldwin tour, we felt like she could become interested in like what if I just went out on the limb and maybe bought this apartment. That sequence was all about sound, really. We hadn't seen that apartment in a long time, and she had not seen that apartment in a long time. It was an emotional sequence, so it moved. It just, the pace of it was a lot slower. The camera move was a lot slower. And then I always knew that I was going to start wide on the living room shot when she hesitated and go in, and then we had to build this sort of sound wall of her memories.
Ronald.
Midge.
Ronald.
Midge.
Now come on, wash your hands.
Midge, your son is not cooperating. He's running around naked and the people across the way can see.
Why is my grandson
That
naked?
is a question for your grandson, Abe. He has a mind of his own.
Oh my God, your cat's cold. Grab him.
I soaked him up so he keeps slipping out of my grass.
I got him. Oh, whoa, I got him.
Neighbors are looking.
He's been charging for this. Midge, we need you.
Hurry up, cut him off in the foyer.
Midge! Midge!
Hello?
I think we pay attention to sound more than I think most comedies. No matter what your pictures are, no matter what your writing is, no matter what your characters are, without the right sound, you're not going to get that polished final product that we love.
Gotta say it's us! We're here! You gotta say, hey, look me over, lend me an ear.
It was weirdly paralleled. There was a story in the New York Times Arts and Leisure about the great Lucille Ball trying to do doing a musical back in 1962 or something called Wildcats. There was a lot of singing and dancing, and Lucille Ball was not a great singer or a great dancer. She was a great actress and a great comedian. And apparently she got so nervous on stage that a few shows in, she started dropping things like, do you know Fred Mertz? She was breaking the fourth wall out of nervousness. We knew from the beginning that Sophie was going to sabotage this thing.
We have nothing but beer.
Beer? I didn't know you were serving breakfast.
And we felt like the funniest way would be if you see that for all her confidence doing stand-up in her fat suit as Sophie Lennon in front of thousands of people, doing something serious, which is what she always wanted to do all her life. She didn't have the guts to do that. She didn't have the confidence to do that. A character like Sophie and an actress like Jane gives us so much confidence to sort of go. We go out there. We don't give her a lot of weird physical things, but we give her sort of weird, subtle things. And Jane really connected. I think any actor can connect to being on stage and feeling like you forgot to put your pants on.